let's all stand and look around, see if there's somebody you haven't met, and please say hello. This is we're trying an experiment. We're actually streaming on Facebook as well. So if you say any little thing, it'll be picked up. Leona has a statement she would like to make to the internet. And just so you know, Ken had a little procedure on his neck this week. The reason he's moving kind of weird is because he's got stitches. So when you hug him, just be gentle with him. It's like he's not being. I don't know if we should have Leon on the second row today. I think this. Hey, Ernie. Hey, you too. Hey, bud. Good. It's a beautiful day. I'm glad that you're here. We're sort of officially starting our third year today since we had our excellent, y'all come on in, our excellent celebration last Sunday, and I was very happy with that. So glad that so many of y'all came out. It was wonderful. Does Charles on the camera, does that block, just a little technical, does that? Okay. I know, it just occurred to me, all you're going to see is.
I mean, the back of Ken is nice. But...
Yeah. Oh, Lord, Jesus, help us. Tried to warn you people. People in cyberspace will be with you in a moment. Is that going to work? No, it's fine. I like it. Strangers in the night. I have got to behave myself. We're having church. Okay. Enough silliness. It's a beautiful day. It's a great day. We're in agreement. Please remain standing. Let's run this and we'll get officially started. Un momento. Are you okay? Is everybody uncomfortable? Something about this remember when he used to do Peter, we do sprockets, and now is the time when we dance. It's kind of got that, it has that vibe to it. Good morning, buenos dias, bonjour, willkommen, welcome to Metron. I have a really good feeling about today. Thank you for being here. Glad to have Gary and Christine with us. You probably didn't recognize them. Gary's lost so much weight. I thought it was his younger brother. They're up here for a couple of days, and so we're glad to have them. Some of you haven't seen in a minute. Glad that you're here. I know people are finishing up summer vacations, but you all made it back here today, and I'm glad that you did. You look wonderful. Good feeling about today. Strong, positive vibration. Our artist for this month, of course, is Marshall Ruffin, and we had it was great to have John Scott and his band last week. They just did such an excellent job. Those of you that watched the video, it's a little just because the way the lighting was under the pavilion, it's a little silhouetted, but you can still hear how great they sounded. But I'm so happy that Marshall will be with us today and next week, and finish out the month with us. And if it was up to me, I could have him all the time here because he's just, love everything that he does. And I'm sure today will be no exception. And be sure to check out his Facebook page, because he does a good bit of appearing around here, and sometimes it's cool to see him in that setting as well. So please check that out, if you will. And without any further ado, would you please welcome our friend Marshall Ruffin. Marshall, welcome.
No, I shouldn't be here. I made some mistakes, but who could imagine these wonderful breaks that I've been receiving, like something out of a dream. Oh, this glorious pageant, this beautiful scene. No, I shouldn't be here. So much has gone wrong, but every trial seems hard and seems long, is bound to an ending, when it will lessen and go. To make carrying easier, the next one to show in every trouble. Oh, a love I have seen. Oh, for the deeper the canyon, the richer the stream. Encamped in a forest, or in counting the leaves, the stories before us, written margins and in sleeves. Oh, I shouldn't be here, but I made it alright through all kinds of weather that had no ending inside. But the clouds they have broken, yes, if only to come again. So while they're gone, I won't bother myself here in the now with the wind. For I've been receiving, oh, something out of a dream. This glorious pageant, see. La, 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 Lord, I know I've been changed, and I know I've been changed. Lord, I've been changed. The angels in heaven gonna sign my name. Lord knows I've got religion. Lord knows I'm not ashamed. Well, the Holy Ghost as my witness. Yeah, the angels gonna sign my name. Oh, I said I know I've been changed, and I know I've been changed. I said I know I've been changed. Angels up in heaven gonna sign my name. Angels up in heaven gonna sign my name. Oh, I've been converted. Oh, I have been redeemed. Said you could wake me up in the midnight hour. I'm gonna tell you just what I've seen. I said I know I've been changed, and I know I've been changed. I know I've been changed. Yeah, the angels up in heaven gonna sign my name. Oh, the angels up in heaven gonna sign my name. Lord knows I got religion, and the Lord knows I'm not ashamed. Oh, well, the Holy Ghost is my witness. Well, those angels gonna sign my name. Oh, I said I know I've been changed, and I know I've been changed. I said I know I've been changed. Angels up in heaven gonna sign my name. I said I know I've been changed, and I know I've been changed. I said, I know I've been changed. Well, the angels up in heaven gonna sign my name. Said the angels up in heaven gonna sign my name. Oh, the angels up in heaven gonna sign my name. I said the angels up in heaven gonna sign my name.
Don't even try. Don't even act like you're not going to do
I will enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I will enter his courts with praise. I will say, this is the day that the Lord has made. Oh, I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. Oh, he has made me glad. He has made me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. Oh, he has made me glad. He has made me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. I will sail across the sea with thanksgiving in my heart. I will stand on his shores with praise. This is the day that the Lord has made. Oh, I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. Oh, he has made me glad. Oh, he has made me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. Oh, he has made me glad. He has made me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for he has made me glad.
Marshall Ruffin. That is good stuff. Good stuff. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thanks, bud. Woo. But the Lord must make you glad. You're supposed to be crying on it. They didn't sing that in the Methodist church. Man, that's good stuff. I'm so into it. I just want to sit there and listen to him play another hour. You may be seated, and some more people have come in, and thank you so much. Those of you who have logged on, thank you for being with us today. Something I wanted to read to you. Forgot. First of all, again, let me say how much I appreciate people coming out last week to Piedmont Park for our second anniversary celebrations. Hard to believe it's been 2 years, but that was us. And I think we got a few pictures. That was those cupcakes that were so good. And again, Avery, I always appreciate the extra touches you do. That's Charles doing his thing. It was cool because we had a lot of visitors came and listened. I wish we had had a sign set up and could have advertised a little more. But that's me saying something. I don't know. John Scott thought it was funny, whatever I was saying. John's amazing, just totally amazing. And it was great. Patrick, I love that picture of you. That's awesome. Jeff had a birthday this week. Yeah. So happy birthday. And birthday over there, 11, not 1. And that was Doss. She's a hoot. Yeah. Doss is there, and she's doing good. She still has a little more therapy to do, but the speech and as you can see, she's still Doss. And I'm sure she's streaming today. Hey, Doss. You know what that was? That was when Charles was saying I should sing more, and he was agreeing with you. I love that picture, mainly because I took it, but no, mainly because it looks good at y'all dance. Anyway, thanks, Michelle. That's good. Love those Metron t-shirts. It's just a great time. So, thank you again, everybody. That's BJ photobombing us. BJ just had to leave early because he's going whitewater rafting today. I said, "Oh Lord." But anyway, thank you, Michelle. Our challenge last week, if you're a guest of ours, we do this is the year of living your best life, and the hashtag you do the little pound sign, and it's year of living your best life, and the words all have to be together, or otherwise it's just like a website. If one letter's off, it won't take it. But I had to do a little bit of a disclaimer because I had posted a picture of what I thought were vitamin B12 foods, but they were foods rich in all the vitamin Bs. Really, B12 is pretty much only in animal products. There are some vegetables that have trace amounts of it, but pretty much anything that has animal protein has vitamin B12. So that was us at Baskin Robbins. Don't judge. Ice cream is a good source of vitamin B12. Pistachio, almond, rock, and let's see. That's I think that was Francis's pepper steak, and I think that's your eggs. I recognize your, and let's see. This is yeah, and is that your salmon, or that's your salmon? That's in California. They have salmon in California, and that's your salmon right there, isn't it? I know everybody's food. I don't know whose that was over there, but anyway. Oh yeah. Anyway, so you know, some weeks we do nutritional things. Sometimes it's more of a spiritual thing. This week I want to do something, and this is going to be a little bit of a challenge to photograph, but and I don't want you to get yourself in trouble with strangers, but there is a good bit of information that says there's therapeutic advantage to hugging people. There actually are health benefits to it. And there's a lot of good stuff online that I was looking at, but this is just one little article. I actually posted it on the Year of Living Your Best Life page last night, but it says hugging therapy is, wait, I lost it. Hugging therapy is definitely a powerful way of healing. Research shows that hugging is extremely effective at healing sickness, disease, loneliness, depression, anxiety, and stress. Research shows a proper deep hug where the hearts are pressing together. Like if you ever hug Dr. Sheila, she'll make sure that your hearts actually touch, and there really is scientific evidence that there's an advantage to that. It's amazing. You know, if you hold hands with somebody for any length of time, your heartbeats will actually link up. And it's a trip. It says a deep hug where the hearts are pressing together can benefit you in these ways. The nurturing touch of a hug builds trust and a sense of safety. This helps with open and honest communication. Hugs can instantly boost oxytocin levels, which heal feelings of loneliness, isolation, and anger. Holding a hug for an extended time lifts one's serotonin levels, elevating mood and creating happiness. Hugs strengthen the immune system. The gentle pressure on the sternum and the emotional charge, this activates solar plexus chakra. This stimulates the thymus gland, which regulates and balances the body's production of white blood cells, which keep you healthy and disease-free. There's a lot about what it does for you emotionally, but it also says hugging relaxes muscles. Hugs release tension in the body. Hugs can take away pain. They soothe aches by increasing circulation into the soft tissues. You remember when you fell down and your mom used to pick you up and hug you? That was as medicinal, if not more, than, you know, applying the medicine to you. Hugs balance out the nervous system. The galvanic skin response of someone receiving and giving a hug shows a change in skin conductance. The effect in moisture and electricity in the skin suggests a more balanced state in the nervous system. Parasympathetic. Hugs teach us how to give and receive. Denise, this is interesting. I'm sure you know this. Hugs are so much like meditation and laughter. They teach us to let go and be present in the moment. They encourage us to flow with the energy of life. Hugs get you out of your circular thinking patterns and connect you with your heart and your feelings and your breath. The energy exchange between the people hugging is an investment in the relationship. It encourages empathy and understanding. There's a bunch of stuff on here, but anyway, it's not just emotional. It's you know, there actually is some physiological benefit to it. I remember when I was a kid, there was somehow my parents were involved in getting a baby out of a very abusive home. Like they actually take it away from the parents, or I don't know if it was a he or she, but I remember my dad saying that in the pediatric ward, the doctor actually put a thing on the bed that says, pick this baby up and love it and hug it every 15 minutes because the baby hadn't been nurtured enough, and there is something about physical touch. Now, for some of you, you're like, hugging, woohoo, like, you you got to respect people's personal space. So you don't just run in and say, my bishop said hug me, so come on. I didn't say go cuddle with strangers. I said, as long as you know that you've got the green light, then, there's a way you can hug somebody without it crossing a line or being uncomfortable. I know back in the charismatic days, sometimes people would get me in a too long a hug to where it's like awkward. It's like, okay, when you're like, there was a scene of the vice president hugging Hillary Clinton this week on the tarmac. And, he's just a long hugger. He just is. And you could tell she was like patting him like, okay, release me. And he just kept, she's like, okay. After you've gotten the pat 2 or 3 times, that means, and release. Because at a certain point, somebody hugs you long enough, you're like, are we engaged now? I mean, I'm not sure what just happened. So that was always a little awkward. I'm always very sensitive to, people's personal space and that kind of stuff. I used to travel some with Mark Sharona, and Sharona in all of his meetings, he would make you look at the person next to you and you had to say all this stuff. You had to, I want you to look them deep in the eyes and say, I will always, it's stuff you've never said to your spouse. You know what I mean? And it was just kind of, and it would go on and on and on. And people would always think I was into it because I was with him, and somebody would take my hands. I'd be like, I don't do this, but thank you. I'm sure you're a nice person, but I've seen what he does here, and it goes on for a really long time. So I'm going to go get some water right now. Thank you. But anyway, I'll just have to use your creativity and your discretion about hugging this week. And I don't know how you can photograph it, but just, give it a shot. I do like, BJ's our primary photographer, but Cheryl helps us a lot too. And one thing that I really like about Cheryl, we'll get a lot of pictures of me interacting with people at the end. And I love that. I love the, sort of reliving that connection, because I do love you. And I do like to have that, just moment of connection with you, because I appreciate that. I know a lot of you drove a long way to be here, and you have for some time, and I never, ever take it for granted. So anyway, hug somebody this week. Oh, and it goes on to say, I think it's that article. They've actually gotten it. The title of the article is "You Need 8 Hugs a Day," and they've figured it out that it was something like 4 hugs or maintenance, 8 hugs or like another one causes growth. Like there actually is a science to it. So I'm just going to throw that out there. If you can get 8, and some of you like, I don't even know 8 people. Well, put on something cute, put a sign on, I need a hug, and see what happens. You have no idea what that might open up for you. So anyway, that is the challenge for this week. Hey y'all, come on in. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Come in. Okay, y'all good? I have children and grandchildren coming in, so that's always a good thing. All right, we've already sent the outreach check this week, and I've already gotten. It was cool, but in our staff meeting Thursday, there was a thank you letter from what is it? Kids and Music. What's the Songs for Kids? We got a handwritten note from them. I got a handwritten note from Pastor Piazza that he is, which I was glad to know that he got the check, because when I went to their office to deliver it, he wasn't there that day, and it was very, very nice card. And somebody else thanked us this week, and we haven't in 2 years we haven't missed sending money to some place. Even I was even thinking about. I was watching the thing about the floods in Louisiana, and some of y'all remember back in the day, when we had plenty of money I remember we sent to Red Cross. We sent 10,000 at 9/11. We sent 10,000 at the Sri Lanka. We sent 10,000 to Katrina. We could back in those days. People said, "Where's the money going?" It's going to help people, and I think a lot of the reaping that we do now is because of that. We've sown so much into the world around us, and I had planned on doing Alzheimer's next month, but we might send something to Red Cross for Louisiana, because I think what happened with the whole deal with Louisiana is it didn't get picked up a lot on the news because of the Olympics and that sort of thing. Some people don't realize really how extreme it is, and flooding, man, you don't realize it because it's not like a hurricane where people necessarily die immediately, but flooding just ruins stuff, and so I might push the Alzheimer's back to October, and let's I like working with the Red Cross. I know they're legit. I know the money goes there, and so I think we'll do that maybe for September. We ain't writing a $10,000 check. Those we're a little more scaled down since then, but it's still the thought that counts. So who knows? We might be back. We might be back in the big leagues. You don't ever know. We might be coming back with such a, I sort of say vengeance, but with such a, that pendulum may swing back so far the other way. Be like, what you need, Baton Rouge? What you need? What you need? You need 10 million? You got it. No problem. It's possible. There's a lot of money in the universe. All right. So yeah, let's do that for next month. We speak in the atmosphere. We say, "Let there be light." This month, I'm talking about specifically this scripture. I'm taking a line out of this verse in Hebrews chapter 6, and I'm not going to go back there. If you want to get the context for it, just go back to 2 weeks ago. We talked about it, but specifically where the writer of Hebrews, which I personally believe was Paul, where he says he talks about people tasting the powers of the age to come. And that's what I'm specifically talking about, spiritual progress this month, and about not just the idea of dying and going to heaven, but the idea of moving in progressively to a better age, a better world. I'm not really preoccupied with what you call the afterlife. I do believe to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Heaven's not a big, I grew up hearing about gates of pearl and streets of gold. That was never really a big selling point for me. I do believe we all came out of God, and that ultimately somehow we're going back to God. I do believe that. But I love the idea of spiritual progress, and I want to show you sizable little passage out of 2 Corinthians 3. And this is, I think I've got it here in the Message Bible, but this is it's where Paul uses the phrase going from glory to glory. And, back in the charismatic days, we used to hear that a lot, going from glory to glory. And I think it's one of those phrases that people in church world throw around a lot, and they really don't have any idea what that means. In another place, in the previous letter to the Corinthians, remember when he talks about the resurrection and he says the sun has a particular glory and the moon has a particular glory? He uses that same word there. It means manifestation or incarnation. So when he says going from glory to glory, he literally means getting from point A to point B is a progression. And you're everybody you ever were. Like a couple of weeks ago, we were in New York. We had lunch with my friend Dominic, who lives in Staten Island. And when I'm with him, I'm 18 again. You know what I mean? Because we haven't known each other through our adult life. So the way that I communicate with him, it's like we're talking about stuff that happened in the 70s, because that's our that's how we know each other. And I can find that that person in me, and some of the stuff that I thought was funny in 1977, I still think is funny, and we're still laughing and stuff. And I remember, you know, any private joke I ever had with anybody growing up, I remember. One time, sort of in the midst of controversy, Debbie buzzed my office and she said, I don't know what this letter means, but because I was getting some threats at the time. And she said, it's like written in code. I said, what is it? She told the guy's name. And it was like WTTMA. And and I was like, what is that? And I said, wait a minute. Is it, you know, I said this whole thing. She says, yeah. I said, oh, it's my friend from 10th grade. And I know that's an abbreviated thing that we used to do when we wanted to talk in class, and we would just like some of it I can't repeat to you, but I called him. I said, I am laughing so hard. I can't believe you remembered that. And I totally remembered. I mean, I remember stuff so much. One time I was hosting the local TBN show, and I never scheduled the guests. You know, you didn't know who the guests were going to be till you showed up there at the studio. And one of the guests, I looked at the name. I thought, I wonder if that's the same John Knapp I went to high school with. Well, sure enough, it was. And as soon as we saw each other, there's a way we used to mimic our algebra teacher, which I will not, out of respect to Miss Hanks, I will not do. But, you know, we're trying to do this show and we're laughing so hard because she's the one, you know, she didn't say, you know, in this equation, it was, do you think and so we're on TV and I said, we got to cut this out. I'm going to get in trouble. But, you know, immediately, you know, you're both these adult people supposed to be on TV talking about these adult things. And suddenly when you see each other, you're 13 and you're laughing over stuff that you should be laughing at as a middle-aged person. And it just shows you that every person you've ever been is still in there. And that's not a negative, but you also have to remember that you're not that person. You know what I mean? It's like there's, you know, you are who you are. And really, I've come to believe that people don't really change that much. I think they self-actualize. I think you become who you've always been. But as far as actual changing, I'm not sure. I don't know how realistic it is. You know what I mean? You kind of are who you are. I know even with, I have 2 of my 4 children here today, and each of them kind of came in with their own personalities. And, you know, they're in a lot of ways they're alike, and in other ways they're completely different. And they kind of were that way from the get-go. You know how it is. If you get more than one child, they're just different, and you have to learn to discipline them differently, and what works for one doesn't work for another, and that sort of thing. It's not monolithic. And having said that, before I get to this thing about going from glory to glory, one reason I'm all about Jesus, and I love Jesus, and you know, whatever anybody wants to believe about him being the only way to God or whatever, I have no argument with you about that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there are death experiences sort of that you go through that when you come out of them, it's like a part of you died and a part of you is resurrected, and you are different. That I can understand. And the reason I like to embrace that, as much as I love the cross and I love the whole idea of us being in Christ and all that kind of stuff, I think that the damage of only believing that there's nothing good in you and that everything came from Jesus, and you know, that it only matters that you pray a prayer and get saved at the end. The problem with that is I think Christians haven't learned to develop character, and they don't, you know, like when I started preaching, I guess what you call ultimate reconciliation, you know, that's always the big argument people want to have. And I would say, look, I I don't have all the answers for how everything plays out in eternity. But it also bothers me that you think that there could be a Hitler that could just on his deathbed go, oops, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And that he's totally, I said, I have a problem with that as well. I'm not doing away with the forgiveness of Jesus. It's just the idea that you can just do anything you want to do and not pay any price for it all and say, well, it's all under the blood. I think there's an imbalanced danger to that. That's why over the years, when people would say, do you do business only with Christians? I'm like, I want to do business with people that have integrity. Because just because you got a Jesus bumper sticker on your car, believe me, does not mean I want to do business with you or that you know what you're doing. People used to always want to, over the years, I got sold the idea of doing a Christian like business directory. And I said, I'd rather do a good business directory because, if my car's broken, I want somebody that knows what they're doing, not somebody that's going to tell me, praise the Lord. Do you know how to fix this car? Well, we're going to pray over it. We're just going to agree in Jesus' name that carburetor's going to be, no. I'm going to go find a nice atheist that knows what they're doing. We can just cut through the red tape. And then if I don't like him, I can fire him without you playing the Christian card. Well, I thought you was a brother. What, I hate when people play the Christian card. I thought you was a Christian. So anyway, I think I've oversaid my point. Let me show you the passage. This is verse 7 through 18. This is where he's talking about Moses coming down off of Mount Sinai, and he had to veil his face. But then, and it's so interesting, as the glory began to fade away, he didn't want to remove the veil because he didn't want them to see that everything was changing. So it says, the government of death, its constitution chiseled on stone tablets, had a dazzling inaugural. That's talking about the Ten Commandments. Moses' face as he delivered the tablets was so bright that day, even though it would fade soon enough, that the people of Israel could no more look right at him than stare into the sun. How much more dazzling then is the government of living spirit? If the government of condemnation was impressive, how about this government of affirmation? Bright as that old government was, it would look downright dull alongside this new one. If that makeshift arrangement impressed us, how much more this brightly shining government installed for eternity? Verse 12 begins with that kind of hope to excite us, nothing holds us back. Unlike Moses, we have nothing to hide. Everything is out in the open with us. I love that. It says, he wore a veil so the children of Israel wouldn't notice that the glory was fading away, and they didn't notice. This was interesting to me, especially back in the day. I hardly ever have this conversation now, but years ago, it was always a big deal about Pentecostals speaking in tongues. I mean, I can't tell you, this is really absurd now, but even when I was a young man dating, when you were a teenager and you'd go to the house and you'd pick up the girl and the girl's dad would come down and meet you. Because I was very demonstrative in the way that, I was a preacher and I did street meetings and all that kind of stuff. You can't believe, like most dads would come down and say, keep your hands off my daughter. Of course, they had no idea. If they really knew the deal, like, she's safe, trust me. But that really was that was a different thing. But they were afraid that she would come back speaking in tongues. That was, I can't tell you how many, and if you're Baptist, don't be upset with me, but I can't tell you how many Southern Baptist dads would come down and say, I'm going to tell you something, my little girl's going to go after you. I don't want her come back speaking on tongues. And I'm like, okay, what's speaking with tongues? But okay, don't worry, we're really just going to a movie, not a revival meeting. But I was pretty persuasive, and there were a few girls that did come home saying, I got baptized in the Holy Spirit, and those Baptist dads didn't like that. And so suddenly I'm having a theological argument with some deacon of some church somewhere, that didn't want his daughter Pentecostalized. Now, I never had that conversation. The reason I'm bringing it up is the way people used to just obsess over speaking in tongues was interesting to me, because in the Pentecostal churches, you hardly ever heard it. I used to want to say to them, like, you have no idea what a non-issue this is. I mean, I go to most Assembly of God churches, and you'd be surprised to hear somebody speaking in tongues. It's kind of like an urban legend that you think everybody's in there just, going crazy, and they're really not. And it's interesting to me how a movement can kind of cool off, and the people not even notice that, it's really not like that. And this is interesting. It says they didn't notice. They didn't notice it then, and they don't notice it now. Don't notice that there's nothing left behind that veil. Now, what that says to me is there's some great things that God has done, but even God himself has moved past it. Even God himself looks back at us and says, really, are you still there? Yes, I may have said that then. I'm not saying that now. Even today, when the proclamations of that old bankrupt government are read out, they can't see through it. Only Christ can get rid of the veil so they can see for themselves that there's nothing there. Verse 16 says, whenever, though, they turn to face God as Moses did, God removes the veil, and there they are, face to face. They suddenly recognize that God is a living personal presence, not a piece of chiseled stone. And I would also go so far as to say you could add, not a leather book with paper pages, because it's the same thing that he's talking about. And when God is personally present, a living spirit, that old constricting legislation is recognized as obsolete. We're free of it, all of us, nothing between us and God, our faces shining with the brightness of his face. And so we are transfigured, much like the Messiah, our lives gradually becoming brighter and more beautiful. That's where in the King James it says going from glory to glory. Gradually becoming brighter and more beautiful as God enters our lives and we become like him. So it's this idea that, yeah, I'm not taking anything away from what Jesus did on the cross, but I still am a work in progress. And that's not a negative thing. That's actually a positive. That's saying, I may have some issues to deal with, but I'm getting there. And God's not frustrated with me. God is patient. I never did this song, but it was kind of popular back in the day. He's still working on me. He's still working on me to make me what I ought to be. It took, did you know that, Charles, in the Baptist church? It took him just a week to make the moon and the stars and Jupiter and Mars. How lovely and patient he must be. He's still working on me. It's a corny song. And even as a kid, I used to think, dear God, how long is it? I mean, if he speaks the world into existence in a few hours, really, he's still working on you. But the idea is it's not so much God just working on us. And I know Philippians says, he who began a good work and you will continue to perform. And I understand that, but it's life working on us. Do you understand? It's like, it's the things you experience in life. And you've heard that quote, life is what, was it 20% what happens to you and 80% how you respond to what happens to you? So we're all, we've all graduated from the school of hard knocks, and hopefully you graduated with honors. Hopefully it didn't make you bitter. We've all, everything that happens to you, I don't necessarily buy into this idea that everything happens for a reason. I don't like that, because there are just some horrible things that happen to people that I don't want to think there was some divine plan to make that happen. However, I do believe all things work together for good. And when things do happen to you, sometimes there's no figuring it out. You just have to say, all right, this is my reality. I'm going to get my head around it, and I'm going to determine how has this affected me? How has it made me? Am I better? Am I more mature? Am I more humble? Am I more personable? This is what, if I may say for the bazillionth time, this is what Jesus was talking about when he said, I was hungry and you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me. And if not, I'll throw you into the fire. He wasn't talking about hell. He was saying, if you're indifferent to disenfranchised people, something is coming. Something will come to you that will force you to be empathetic with them. It's easy to criticize people for their divorces until you go through a divorce. And then suddenly you're like, oh, maybe relationships are more complicated than I thought. the classic one is how opinionated people who don't have any children are about child raising and want to lecture you. Some of the people over the years who don't have any children who have lectured me about the kind of father I should be. I'm like, let me see. You have how many? 0 kids, and I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. Okay, thank you, Mr. Spock. You know, or Dr. Spock. Mr. Spock was on. Sorry, I get the Spocks mixed up. Mr. Spock was on Star Trek. Dr. Spock was the pediatrician. Okay. A lot of people don't know that because when Leonard Nimoy died a few years ago, people were like, we're so sorry Dr. Spock died. No, he wasn't. Dr. Spock actually did die some time ago, but not Leonard Nimoy. Okay. Let me show you. Some of you know the great poet Rumi. I like this. It says, as you live deeper in the heart, the mirror gets clearer and cleaner. Really, it's really what Paul was saying when he said, King James says, now we look through a glass darkly, but the Greek actually says, now we look in a mirror dimly. And as we progress, we begin to see, oh, there's God. You know, we are all in our way being conformed to his image. And sometimes it's not an easy progression. Sometimes it's, you know, there are lessons learned, and the experiences of life can be, if I may coin a phrase, bittersweet. You know what I mean? Sometimes the worst thing that ever happened to you turns out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. It was interesting. Last week, y'all know Myrtle that used to Myrtle that used to come to church. Not his mom Myrtle, but there's a woman. She has one arm. You know what I'm talking about? And I hadn't seen her in a long time, and she came to the picnic last week. And because of what I had shared, she came up to me afterwards. She says, do you remember a conversation we had many years ago? And I said, which one are you talking about? And I had asked her, how did you lose your arm? I didn't ask her the first time I saw her, but, you know, after you've seen somebody a few times, it's a legitimate question. You know, I'm not trying to be awkward, and she's not shy about showing it. I mean, you know, she had something sleeveless on last week. And I think she was in an accident. I think maybe a bus hit her or something, and she lost her arm. But at the time, she says, do you remember what I said to you? And I said, you said it's the best thing that ever happened to you. And she said, yes. And I don't know all the dynamics of what happened. I'm not saying that you got to lose an arm to learn something. But apparently, whatever was going on in her life at the time, it must have yielded something positive in her. And, you know, if you have an inevitability like that, you might as well be proactive. You might as well put a positive spin on it and say, all right, I got one arm, and being bitter is not going to make another one grow back. So how can I be positive about this? And she said, I've looked at you and I've seen negative things happen to you that seemed, because I was in the, oh yeah, there she is, right there. And that's what, yeah, thank you, Michelle. That's what she was saying to me. See the look on my face? Because she was saying, I haven't seen you in a long time, and I can see how much better you are. She's always loved you, but you're so much better now. And don't you see that the negative things that happened to you? And I said, yeah, I mean, I totally get it. And we had a little moment. She really has issues with the expressway. So she said, I'm trying to figure a back way to get here. But anyway, that was, thanks for that picture. But that's a decision you have to make every day of your life. Every day you have to say, all right, whatever happens today, I'm not going to be this Pollyanna that just goes, la, 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 everything is perfect, because that's not true. But everything is good. Good and perfect are two different things. And I think one mistake we made in imbalanced charismatic theology was that if I just do everything right and say the right things and pay my tithes, and that everything's going to be perfect in my life. And that's really not, it's not scriptural, it's not practical, it's not true, it's not real. However, you can have a good life made up of lots of imperfect days, because you learn how to respond to them, because you learn how the things that happen, and I'm thinking of so many motivational cliches, this thing can either make me bitter or better, or, you know what, but that really is true. Everything that happens to you can make you bitter or better. I mean, I've had several things in the last few weeks that could have caused me to retreat. They could have, you know, there's some things that people say to you that you're like, all right, how much am I going to take this to heart? How much is this I'm going to let this break my spirit? Or am I going to learn from it and kind of move on from it? I did a little video, I guess last week, about, you know, some things in the last couple of months I've been called a sexist and a racist. The two things I would have never, if you'd made a list of things I think people could call me, I would think, well, those two things would never come up on the list. And there they were. And it did make me have to process some things and think, my God, am I, you know, am I like Jekyll and Hyde? And I'm so out of touch with myself that I don't even know, like, this, is there this other person out? I mean, I was asking Ken, I said, is there this other person that comes along, this sexist, racist guy that's, you know, like that? I can't believe that's the truth, because I can't think of any instances of it. And I really had to work through it, and I have gotten better because of it. I mean, at a certain point, you take what you can from it and you learn, and I have learned some things. And I also realized that, wow, if that's your reality in your mind, that's not my reality. And if I have something I need to change, I'll do it. I'll do it in a heartbeat. But if this is just the wrong way you're seeing a situation, I'm just going to have to forgive you and let you try to work through it, because that's not my reality. And, you know, I like women and I like black people. I like black women. I'm on two. Somebody keeps using my picture. They've used it 2 times now on a dating site of white men looking for black women to hook up with. So people could just tell from my experience, this guy likes sisters, or he would never wear shoes like this. Come on. Sisters go crazy for these shoes. Are you kidding? You know it's true. Come on now. Y'all know I'm joking. Not really. But I'm just saying, I thought, well, all right, I'm going to have to process. Is that going to make me, you know, am I going to get mad? I've kind of been through all of those things. I've been mad, I've been hurt, I've been whatever. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm over it. And that's somebody else's truth. And I also learned from it and learned, wow, when you're in some conversations, there's kind of a way you have to talk and not talk, and understand that people have hot buttons, and there's certain words you could say that people are going to hear a certain way, and they're not even hearing you. They're hearing your ancestors. They're hearing everybody else they've ever met that may look like you. And so you have to realize, and I've been on the other side of it. I mean, I don't want to be the, you know, the political correct Nazi. And may I say, I'm okay with some political correctness. As a gay man, I'm like, yep, political correctness actually works for me some, because, you know, I know people that think they're straight allies of the gay community who just say unbelievably homophobic stuff that I think, I know you don't realize how insulting that is, what you just said. And because I know you love me and you love gay people, I'm going to let it slide. But my God, if I didn't know you, something would be going down right now. I'd be like, you know, and maybe we will have a conversation at some point where I can explain to you why you don't ever need to say that again. But I realized that, you know, they don't know any better. And if I polarize them and make them afraid to talk, then they're never going to have their horizons broadened. So you have to sort of patiently help people through with some dialogue and just little, you know, sometimes it's baby steps. The next, this is a great Mandela quote. He says, there is nothing like returning to a place that remains unchanged to find the ways in which you yourself have altered. I remember a couple of years ago now going to a funeral of someone that I'd been connected with, and I'm looking around. There was a minister. I'm looking around at all these people who kind of at one time were in my life and are not in my life now. And I was listening to the things they said and the songs they sang and the way they were dealing with the tragedy of this man's suicide. I thought, wow, I am so not a part of this system anymore. I mean, I don't even mean it in a negative way. I'm just like, I'm not like you guys. I mean, I'm really not. And I didn't realize how much I had evolved until I was in that setting. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you think like, this has gotten better, but there have been a lot of people that knew me from church and then now that just can't let it go. Like they actually speak of me in past tense, like, oh, you used to be so anointed and you used to preach. And I'm like, well, I preach every Sunday. I never even took a Sunday off. Never took a week off. Like every Sunday. And there's some pretty credible people that kind of think I'm still anointed, believe it or not. And they're like, no. And that's, thank you. Jackie said even more so. And that's somebody that's heard my voice for a long time. And so you have to patiently say, that was awesome. And nothing against that. And you go to my YouTube page and I've got videos of it. And, some of those videos of, John Scott singing, I Can See Clearly Now. And stuff like that. Oh my God, that's as good as it gets. That doesn't mean this isn't good. It just means like, that was good. This is good. Like everything in life isn't either or. It's not like you go to KFC and go, oh my God, chicken is so good. I'm never eating fish again. No, you can, it's not an either or. It's not like I hate everything but chicken. No, chicken is great. That's what when people say, what's your favorite food? Food is my favorite food. I don't have a favorite food. I don't even have a favorite restaurant. I have a restaurant that I like that serves that kind of food. But sometimes when somebody wants to take me out, like, what's your favorite place? I don't have a favorite place. You might know a place that I don't know about, so hook me up. Or otherwise, let's go to some place that it's not about the food, because I like everything that's good. I would think it'd be kind of weird if you only had a favorite food and that's all you ever ate. That would be odd, wouldn't it? I mean, I love sushi. Not everybody in this room does. He likes edamame, and he's figured out things he can order. So on the weeks he's on call, sometimes I go by myself and have a little something, and I'm fine with it. You go to the food court at Lenox Square, they've got sushi guys there, and the sushi they make there is just as, I'm telling you, it's just as good as you get in a restaurant, and it's like half the price. You kidding me? I go to Bloomingdale's and get some new cologne and I'm go have some sushi. But I don't want to eat it all the time. If somebody said, you love it so much, we have bought you a lifetime supply. You're going to have sushi 3 times a day for them. Like, oh, no, I like it like that. I don't like anything like that. But sometimes it's, going someplace where you have been, not just even geographically, but sometimes thinking like, oh, wow, if I could be with so-and-so again. And then you're with so-and-so and you're like, that wasn't as good as I remembered. You know what I mean? I tell you what really lets you know when you're in the right relationship is when, we've all had those thoughts about, there's a couple times you think about somebody you used to be with and, they were really cute. And then you see them and they say something that you're like, oh my God, what did I can't even remember what it was that I saw in you. I can't even go into my inner person and find that feeling. Because now I'm like, what the heck? What was I thinking? Because whatever you had that worked for me then ain't working for me now. And it ain't. And sometimes it's a blessing to see somebody and you think, wow, I have changed so much. And I'm with the right person now. And the good thing is now, if you're with the right person and you and that other person are changing together, you're growing together, then you can have a long-term indefinite relationship. It's when somebody doesn't grow with you and you're growing, that's a mixed marriage. Do you know what I mean? Or mixed, that's unequally yoked. When, like I'm progressing and you're not. This is going to be a problem. Next quote is famous Henry Ward Beecher. We should not judge people by their peak of excellence, but by the distance they have traveled from the point where they started. I love that. Sometimes it takes a little dialoguing with someone to see where they've come from, to realize, oh, I need to give you a little more credit than I've given you, because I didn't realize that's where you've come from. I remember when I first started the church, we used to have cell groups. Like, I would preach on Sunday morning, and then at night, on Sunday nights, people would go to their homes, and that was a very popular thing back in churches in the 80s or whatever. And there was this one couple that led a cell group. They were gone years and years ago, but a lot of the people would complain about her. They like, we don't like the way she is. She dominates the conversation, blah, blah, blah. What they didn't know, that I couldn't tell them, is that she'd had a history of mental illness, and the fact that she could sit in a group with people and have a conversation was, I mean, just amazing. It was like her doctors would have never believed she could have done something like that. And because I would never uncover her, I would just say to people, I'd say, look, I can't go into detail, but you need to give her a little bit of grace, because she's come very far from where she was. And for people that were, open-minded, they would hear that and go, okay, it never became a problem. And I wanted to give her the challenge of having that group, because I believed that she could handle it. And it brought out the best in her. And there's some people that I pastored over the years that really aren't in my life now, but I did make an impact in their life, and I still think it was valid. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to always go. Now y'all do, y'all go the distance with me, but some people, I mean, by this time y'all are like, we are in. This is the end of the rainbow, baby. We have followed you everywhere. You are not getting rid of us. Of course, now with the advent of these kind of cameras, now we're talking about, we could do Metron anywhere. Like, we could just, you could just send out a email blast, say, we're going to have it here today. Well, okay, that might be a challenge for some people. Like, where are you? Today we're in San Diego for coming to you live. All right. What would you say? On the road again. Hey, you know what? All things are possible. Who knows? I think that speaks for itself. This next quote, I'll go through these pretty quickly. It says, I like this. It is always the simple things that change our lives, and these things never happen when you were looking for them to happen. Life will reveal answers at the pace life wishes to do so. You feel like running, but life is on a stroll. This is how God does things. I had to think about this quote for a minute. I thought, do I believe that? Because I kept being drawn to it. I thought, no, I think that is right. I believe that whatever change / evolution you go through, you do have to pace yourself, and not be upset if you regress a little bit. This is one thing I think it's really important for people that lose weight or try to get in better shape or whatever. You can't throw in the towel if you regress a little bit. Do you know what I mean? If you're losing some weight and you get on the scales and you're up a few pounds, it's not the end of the world. It just means, well, all right, it is what it is, and I'll get back on it tomorrow. And don't let it just knock you out of the saddle, because that happens with some people. They'll try something and they'll get a little better, and then if they don't see quick results, that's like a good trainer will tell you that at the outset. Like, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to give yourself some time. And when you are trying to improve your physicality, there's always that moment where you look in the mirror and you're not where you want to be. Do you know what I mean? You're like, well, I still don't want this here, but this here, that's good. Still got to work here, but you figure out how to, you photograph it and crop it. And it's amazing. A good crop, you can lose 20 pounds just with one little edit on your camera. But you also know, well, all right, well, I'll work on it next week, and I'm not going to punish myself. I don't want to turn this into a Jenny Craig meeting here, but punishing yourself and eating in guilt doesn't produce good results. You know what I mean? And furthermore, I believe so much in the energy on something. If you're going to go eat some donuts, then eat them with joy, because I think it's I think it's counterproductive if everybody like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing this. Just if you're going to eat them, then eat them and just come out with it. You know what I mean? Go into Krispy Kreme and say, I want hot donuts now, and I'm not ashamed. All right, I want to take a picture and put it on Facebook. I dare. I wish somebody would say something, because I'm going to eat these donuts and I don't need any grief. Some of you are like, let's go now. Because, and they're finding this even from the show Biggest Loser, nearly every one of those people that dramatically lost weight has gained it back and more. So if you don't change lifestyle, it actually will become counterproductive for you. It's really weird how that happens. It's like people who win the lottery and end up worse off financially than they were before they got the money. Because if you don't know how to live correctly, just an event can actually be less productive for you than it should be. I've quoted this guy a lot, this motivational speaker, but I do like this. He says, look around you, everything changes. Everything on this earth is in a continuous state of evolving, refining, improving, adapting, enhancing, changing. You were not put on this earth to remain stagnant. I know I come back to this theme and touch on it a lot, but I really believe this is important. You know, the famous Dr. Seuss quote is, don't cry that it's over, smile that it happened. And I believe there's such a truth to that. Even and I've referred to this before, I will refer to it again, in The King and I, when Anna, because she's widowed, you know, and she sings that great Rodgers and Hammerstein song, Hello, Young Lovers, Wherever You Are. And it's a song of celebrating young love, because you remember it was Top Teen and whatever the guy's name was, they have this sort of hidden relationship. So she's singing this song about young love. And I love this line. She says, don't cry for me, young lovers, wherever you are. She said, I've had a love of my own. In other words, don't feel bad for me. I had love. And so I'm not jealous of you. I'm not envious of you. I'm not begrudging you having that, because I had it too. And I'm celebrating love. I know what that's like. And that's such a healthy, positive way to look, to say that, yeah, I mean, sure, I miss that person, but at least I had that. And so I'm, you know, and I may have it again, but if I don't have it again, it's fine, because I did have it and it was wonderful. And what I have now is wonderful. It's why Paul said in Philippians 4, he said, I had to learn how to be content in every state. I didn't know it immediately. He said, I had to learn how to be hungry and full. I had to learn how to be poor and how to be rich. I had to learn, and it's in that context that he says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In other words, I just learned whatever it is. There's great things about being married. There's great things about being single. And you can't even compare the two. They're just different. If you have your own place, you can fix it up however you want it without anybody else putting their input in. And there is an advantage to that, because if you live with somebody somewhere else, there's going to have to be a little bit of compromise. The perfect visual of that was the Frasier show. You remember when he had this swanky Seattle apartment or condo with his dad's ugly recliner right in the middle of it. And that's just such a visual of decorating compromise. Well, you know, you don't have to have that ugly chair there if he's not there. But if you like having the person there, you're willing to put up with the ugly chair, unless you just say, look, we're going to decorate this the way I like it and just shut up. And if you have that kind of relationship, that works. But usually people are opinionated about where they live, right? But it's, I used to, when I did all my counseling on one day, I'd have one married couple that, you know, just like, you know, I'd be fine if he wasn't here. Just if he just was not here, I'd be fine. And then the next person would be like, I'm just so lonely. If I just had somebody to hold me, if I had somebody to hold me, I'm like, well, you know, my 10 o'clock would gladly trade places with you. You know, I always, sometime during the holidays every year, I will say this, like, you know, yes, it's great to be in love and have somebody during holidays, but it's also great to do what you want to do and make your own plans. Whatever state you are in, you might as well just embrace it and make the best of it and just say, you know, it's great. And if it's going to change, fine. But if it doesn't change, fine. I'm telling you, that is such a healthy way to live. My parents have this beautiful house and beautiful yard that they paid to have sodded, and it's great, but it's a lot of maintenance too. And, you know, one day we were driving around on Saturday and I thought, why do I have so much free time? What is it? And I realized, well, I don't have anything. I have no upkeep. I live in a very small place. I don't have a yard. There's nothing like, that's why people say, how do you have so much free time? Y'all go so many places because I got nothing. No maintenance. But now if you want to have a cookout, you can't do it at my place. There's no place to do it. We can't. Cook in my little loft. The concierge will be, Mr. Swilley, is there a fire coming from here? So, you know, there are times I miss having that. Good news is we can go over to my parents and call them and say, we're going to come over to your house and cook out. All right, we'll be, you know, and they're happy with it. So the best of both worlds. But I see the validity in either scenario. So whatever you've got, enjoy it and celebrate it. I think I've belabored that point. I've quoted this lady a lot, but this is a good quote. Finally, I wanted to end on this one because this will kind of be a comma to take me into where I wanted to go with this next week. Evolving is not arrogance; it is confidence that won't be pulled backwards by those that feel left behind. What that means is that not everybody can go with you on your journey, and you're just going to have to accept that and love everybody, and the people that were with you seasonally, be glad that they were there. But you can't, when you've evolved, when you've changed, you know that butterfly can't go back in that cocoon. Remember that quote that I did 2 or 3 months ago? When she became a butterfly, all the caterpillars thought she was weird, but she had wings. And there's just such a great point to that. It's like, yeah, I know you don't understand that I'm a different thing now, but it's very much like when Mary Magdalene saw Jesus. You know, I remember back in the 70s when Jesus Christ Superstar came out and Mary Magdalene did that famous song, I Don't Know How to Love Him. People considered that so controversial. And I thought that totally makes sense to me. Like, of course, I didn't even have a problem with the Da Vinci Code. I thought, yeah, it's just fiction, but I'm sure Mary Magdalene was a woman who had a very charismatic man in her life that probably, if not in love with him, I'm sure was conflicted about. I thought that song, the lyric says, I don't know how to take this. I don't know I don't understand these feelings. I'm sure that is, that totally made sense to me. I thought that's a dynamic that a woman would have with a man that was in her life. Didn't seem blasphemous to me at all. And, but you remember after the resurrection, remember when she went to touch him and he says, don't touch me. And if you read the original Greek, basically her touch was implying, I want things to be like they were when you were in your physical body. And he was saying, I'm not that anymore. And that's not going to be anymore. I never understood, like, if I may refer to my kids again, I loved every phase of their life. I mean, I enjoyed them when they were babies. I enjoyed them when they were kids. I enjoyed doing the fun kid stuff, but I thoroughly enjoy them as adults now. I mean, it's equally enjoyable to me to go over to Christina's apartment, or Judah and Joan and I went to see Ben-Hur this week. And I, I love knowing them as adults. I've enjoyed every part of the journey. And I don't understand why they don't understand that. Like people say, well, I just wish they were little again. I don't. I mean, when they were little, I did, I was a very hands-on dad, but I was glad when they started driving and I didn't have to take them everywhere and drop them off and pick them. You know what I mean? Like works for me. I don't understand why people, to me, it speaks to something insecure in a parent when they don't want their kids to progress. Like progression that's a good thing. I'm glad when they, take it to the next level. But some people don't like things to change. They want things to be exactly as they were. I'm just going to leave that. I'm just going to put that right there and leave that and let you kind of meditate on that, because I'm not trying to give you license like to run out and cut people out of your life. Because I don't believe in that. I just believe that you are on a journey, and some people, just what little bit of the Olympics I've watched in the last couple of weeks, I understand why Paul referred to Olympic competition so much, because everything you see is a parable. I mean, I could preach so many sermons. Of course, the one I'm thinking of now is this Ryan Lochte guy. I'm like, what are people thinking when they just make up something? Why wouldn't you just say, look, we were out partying, we had too much to drink, there was an altercation, some cops came, we took care of it. It would not even be in the news. I don't understand when people just make up. Look, I'll admit I can put a positive spin on a story, and I can tell it in its best possible light. I have never just made up something that just didn't happen. And it's not because I'm Mr. Integrity. It's just because, like, you always get caught. All right. Just don't. And I understand why Brazil's upset about it, because that could really cut into their tourist trade, especially if people already think it's an unsafe place to go. One guy saying the cops, fake cops, that's not cool. I'm like, Ryan, what the heck? Just tell the truth. If you wonder why sometimes I stop talking to you, it's because when you just telling me stuff that I know is not true, it's impossible to lie to me, and my lie meter is going, and I'm just like, I can't. I love you, but I know what you're saying is not true. So and I'm not trying to bust you. So just give me a hug, and just try to tell the truth. What? Oh, I thought you had something to say. Anyway, but my point in the whole thing about the Olympics is it's so much about progression and hanging in there, and even being a good sport, and just learning. Like I was watching the news today, and they were showing best of and worst of, and apparently was there an Israeli and Palestinian guy that competed against each other, and the Israeli guy reached out to shake the Palestinian's hand, and he wouldn't shake it. And I thought, if you only realize, it just makes you look, not only is it defying the whole point of the Olympics, because the whole thing about the Olympics in theory is, even if our nations are at war, we're going to come together on the field of competition. And this is a safe space. And that's ideally what's happened over the years. And, you just want to say to somebody, like, if you only realize it's just, this is going to make you look bad. It wouldn't have, if you had just shaken the guy's hand, it would have made the Palestinians look better. It actually would have been better for your country, because this guy, he's not invading you. He's just a guy running a race. And you kind of missed the point. It's sad to me when people don't discern their moment. They don't realize, oh, this is my moment where I could rise to the occasion and really to be seen as something greater than I am. And that means many times, if not most times, being the bigger person. Let me tell you, you always win being the bigger person. It's not easy. Believe me. There are many times I've been the bigger person that I really wanted to be the smaller person. I wanted to be a teeny tiny person. But I know bigger will serve me better down the line. So yes, I will forgive you. Yes, I will turn the other cheek. Yes, I will, some of the things that people have said to me over the years, I could have, oh my God, I could have given such smart responses that I just didn't, because I thought, you know what, if I burn a bridge with this person, then there's no chance of any reconciliation. So, and I haven't always shined at that. Sometimes I look back and I think, I could have handled that better or whatever. So what do? You learn from your mistakes. Guess what? I hope you're not shocked at this. Ministers aren't perfect. Are y'all okay? Is anybody in a fetal position? And then once you can embrace that, parents aren't perfect. If you make a mistake with your kids, it does not undermine your parental authority to say, yeah, I could have handled that better. I mean, I think I've been a good father, but there's been a lot of things I could have handled better with my kids. And, I've tried to own it and tried to make up for it, but it is what it is. And you learn from it and you try to go on better, and just know they'll understand it when they have kids of their own. Nothing will make you understanding of your parents like having children. And you'll just be like, well, we do the best we can. And on that note, I will leave it right there, and then we'll finish it up. Be here next week, because I don't know there's always something about the last Sunday of the month that's always the best. I don't mean for it to be. It just always turns out to be best at last. Let's all stand. Did you get something out of this today? Of course you did. That very tepid applause. Thank you for that very... Now, if I had to drag it out of you, it's gratuitous. Yes, you're good point. Jack says it's hard to stand and applaud at the same time. All right, fair enough. Touche. Yeah, I'll accept that. So, since you're all standing, did y'all get anything out of this today? Now we're talking. It always makes me think of, y'all remember Tom Slick, the cartoon? And he was a race car driver, and the guy would say, and the crowd is going wild. They go, yay. Good times. All right. Please remain standing. We'll run this, and then I'll speak a blessing over you, and then I'll let you go enjoy your beautiful day. Aren't you glad you came to Metron this morning?
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy. Simply text the amount you would like to give to 404-620-5044. And now you can give anytime by texting this number.
Anytime.
You will then receive a one-time registration form that links your phone number and opens your account at SimpleGive. Complete the form, and you will then receive a successful registration and donation page. For additional information on your account, visit visionthenow.com and click the Support tab. Then, My Online Donation. When you contribute to Metron, you're also supporting the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment in Metron.
And if you're making a check, make it to JESM, and Gloria will be back there to receive that for you. If you have cash, just pay it forward. Bless somebody. I'm sure I will say this next week, but always, I take care of my artists, but also if you want to bless them when they're here, if you enjoyed the music, you certainly have my blessing to do that with Marshall. Did you enjoy Marshall this morning? Amazing. Aren't you at Eddie's Attic this week coming up? You don't remember? He's so modest. He won't even. Oh, you don't know. Or you're the Earl. You didn't know you were at Eddie's Attic in Decatur? What night are you there? Saturday. All right. Eddie's Attics. It's a cool little venue right off the square in Decatur if you want to go. You can order something to eat there. It's good. All right. Because we're talking about spiritual progress, I speak to your potential. I speak to the person that you're becoming. The better version of you is evolving. And I call that forth. You don't have to change. You just have to become who you really are, and that you play to your better angels, and that you embrace what is good and awesome about you. You really are a wonderful person. Don't ever forget that. You're beautiful and you're smart. You're intelligent. Your life matters. You're lovable. You're kind. You're wise. You're successful. You're prosperous. You're beautiful. Good things are coming to you today. I speak healing to your physical body and peace to your mind. And I say that you wake up tomorrow saying, this is the day the Lord has enabled me to make. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Mwah! Love you so much. See you next week.